Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Welcome to Green Acre Virtual. Oh, we have a smaller group today. The part of Anne will be played by Tim this morning. I won't tell you any more about it because Anne is going to tell you about it in a video coming up here. But I will get us going here soon. If you're joining us for the first time, we are celebrating the anniversary of Abdu'l-Bahá's visit to Green Acre, which was August 16th through the 23rd, 1912. So 109 years ago this week. And I will get us started with a song I totally forgot I knew. And it popped into my head the other day, and it's a song about Abdu'l-Bahá, the words of Abdu'l-Bahá. My name is Abdu'l-Bahá. My qualification is Abdu'l-Bahá. My reality is Abdu'l-Bahá. I've never actually sung this song before. I've only ever heard it and sung it in my head. So we'll see how it goes. We're about to get started with a song, and then I'm going to pass it over to Tim, who is going to play us a message from Anne. All right, here we go. I want you to be happy at Green Acre, to laugh, to smile, rejoice. I want you to be happy at Green Acre, to laugh, to smile, rejoice in order that others may be made happy, happy by you, happy by you, happy by you, happy by you. I want you to be happy at Green Acre, to laugh, to smile, rejoice. I want you to be happy at Green Acre, to laugh, to smile, rejoice in order that others may be made happy, happy by you, happy by you, happy by you, happy by you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tim, who will give us a message from Anne.
Hi, everybody. I'm the part of Anne is being played by me, her husband, Tim, today. It's an honor to be here with all of you. I guess you've had a great 7 days or 8 days of Abdu'l-Bahá's time at Green Acre, and I've learned all kinds of stuff. And every now and then I would hear a little something going on, and I'd pick up a tidbit or two myself. Anne wanted me to share this little video that she put together last night explaining something to you. So let me go ahead and share the screen for that.
Dear friends, I'm so sorry that I can't be with you today. I'll be meeting with a new on-ground class of art appreciation at the very same time you're gathering. So it's going to be difficult to say goodbye and end our time together anyway, and I will be thinking about you all. Thank you for being part of this learning circle, a nascent endeavor of the Montserrat University. Don't forget to ask Jessica to sing the happy song for you, and Tim will help lead the discussion today and also share the video. Bless you, be well, be happy. Allahu Akbar.
Thank you all. Sorry for the technical issues. But yeah, and now without further ado, I'll bring up the PDF that she's prepared for today. So, and can everyone see this well enough? Perhaps a little larger.
Perfect.
By the way, on this photo, I've often wondered, the man on the left, is he crying or is he sneezing from allergies? I've never quite figured that one out before.
Or maybe he's
Maybe
eating a muffin.
Yeah, maybe he's eating a muffin. That's true. Who knows? You know, late for his breakfast. But it's wonderful with these old images to try to imagine what was going on at that moment that the lens was, or that snapped the picture. Okay, here we go.
All right, can we have a volunteer to start reading?
I will.
Thank you.
Mahmoud writes, in the morning while the master was preparing to leave, he said, "We have finished our work here. We have sown a seed. Many souls have been attracted and transformed. Every day we have seen gifts such as fruit, flowers, honey, and sweets, which have been placed here anonymously and without show. This is a proof of the sincerity of their hearts." Abdu'l-Bahá was delighted to witness the influence of the Word of God on Green Acre. Indeed, it has become a second paradise on earth and has been transformed into verdancy and freshness. At his instructions, the suitcases were packed and the carriage readied. The believers and seekers were burning with the fire of love, lamenting and shedding tears. Abdu'l-Bahá sat in the carriage while the friends lined both sides of the road. For as long as the carriage remained in sight, they continued to wave their hats and handkerchiefs in farewell. On the way, he stopped to visit Miss Farmer, who fell at his feet weeping and received from the master his infinite favor and utmost kindness. Abdu'l-Bahá left Green Acre at 10 a.m. and reached Malden, Massachusetts at 1 p.m. He arrived at the home of Miss Maria P. Wilson, whose invitation to stay at her house he had accepted. A new spirit was breathed into the bodies and a divine happiness was shed upon the hearts. As he was tired, Abdu'l-Bahá did not eat, but instead rested for a while. In the afternoon and evening, many friends were honored with meeting him.
Thank you. Can we have another volunteer?
Perhaps one of the young.
On Friday, August 23rd, Abdu'l-Bahā's beautiful visit to Green Acre came to an end. Several of us were at the Portsmouth railway station to bid him a fond farewell. Allahabad, Ella Robarts.
And I just looked it up, and Malden is 54 miles from here. Just for reference.
I can read a paragraph.
Perfect, thank you.
Shoghi Effendi wrote, "The blessing he, Abdu'l-Bahá, bestowed on the open forum at Green Acre in Maine, on the banks of the Piscataqua River, where many of his followers had gathered, and which was to evolve into one of the first Baha'i summer schools of the Western Hemisphere, and be recognized as one of the earliest endowments established in the American continent. His address to an audience of several hundred attending the last session of the newly founded Baha'i Temple Unity held in Chicago, and at last but not least, the exemplary act he performed by uniting in wedlock two of his followers of different nationalities, one of the white, the other of the Negro race. These must rank among the outstanding functions associated with his visit to the community of the American believers. Functions designed to pave the way for the erection of their central house of worship, to fortify them against the tests they were soon to endure, to cement their unity, and to bless the beginnings of that administrative order which they were soon to initiate and champion." Shoghi Effendi, God Passes By, page 288.
We can have another reader.
I will.
Thank you.
Statements by Abdu'l-Bahá regarding Green Acre. How is Green Acre? When will the season be opened? Green Acre is the most delightful spot. I enjoyed my visit to that charming place. If I go to America, I will pay a second visit to Green Acre. It is a most ideal spot for the dissemination of holy ideals. You must lay such a foundation so that the influence of the Confederation of Religion and Sects may permeate to all parts of the world, from Green Acre and Green Acre for all the future ages and cycles may become the standard bearer of the oneness of the whole world of humanity. I will pray for the fulfillment of this truth. Abdu'l-Bahá quoted in a letter from Ahmad Sohrab dated May 18, 1913.
Thank you. Just a little aside. We're working on branding a bit here at Green Acre, trying to get crystal clear on our mission, our purpose, and how to really communicate that to everyone, so that there's a unity of understanding of what Green Acre is really focused on these days. And that line about Green Acre becoming, I think it was once and for all time, the standard bearer of the oneness of humanity will most likely be our mission statement. A new reader.
The desire to serve Green Acre is in reality a very important matter. The name Green Acre must appear with all its significant meaning. That is, Green Acre must become the reflection of the plain of Acre and attain the utmost verdancy, greenness, and artistic beauty. Its charms and wonder lie in this, that it may become the center of the Baha'is and the cry of Ya Baha'u'llah, O thou the glory of the most glorious, be raised from all its direction.
Wow, I'd never read that quote before. It's interesting because when you speak to people who live in this area who are not Baha'is, a lot of them think that this is the national center for the Baha'is of the United States. And this quote, I'm like, oh, well, maybe they're not that, I mean, it's not administratively, but maybe there's something to that. I always have to correct people, but we have another reader for this beautiful quote down here from Abdu'l-Bahá.
Are you all well and happy? This is a delightful spot. The scenery is beautiful and an atmosphere of spirituality halos everything. In the future, God willing, Green Acre shall become a great center, the cause of unity of the world of humanity, the cause of uniting hearts, binding together the East and the West. This is my hope. Abdu'l-Bahá.
So I do hope you all were taking notes just then, because I know we have questions and answers now. So let's begin here with our first question at the bottom. All right, I'll just roll them up here, so you can look ahead if you feel like it. So first question, when was Abdu'l-Bahá getting ready to leave Green Acre? A, the believers and seekers were burning with fire, the fire of love of God, lamenting and shedding tears. B, the Green Acre staff was sad, a little bit relieved that the intense week was coming to an end. C, Fred Mortensen refused to go with the master, preferring his earlier method of travel. And D, there was a tremendous storm which postponed the journey.
A.
A.
Yes, the believers. Oh, I see. When Abdu'l-Bahá was getting ready to leave. Yeah, I misread that. Okay, yes, A. The believers were burning with the fire of the love of God and shedding tears. I'm sure the staff was not happy to see him go. So
Did they have staff back then? That's my question.
well, somebody,
there might have been a bit of B.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is a smidgen of B. Okay, number 2. Shoghi Effendi noted 3 functions of particular importance regarding Abdu'l-Bahā's trip to America. A, his peace message at Lake Mohonk. his visit to the NAACP in Chicago, his time in Montreal. Or B, his days in New York, his meetings with Howard Kobe Ives, his dedication of the temple. C, his meeting with servants at the boat dock, his time at Hull House, his days in California. And D, his visit to Greenacre, his address to the Baha'i Temple Unity held in Chicago, his uniting in wedlock two believers of different nationalities and races. So
D.
D. D.
D, right. So who was that couple that was united?
Louis Gregory and his
And
wife.
Louisa
Lisa.
Matthews.
Very good. Exactly. Yes. And what did he do in Chicago?
Laid the cornerstone.
Yeah,
He did.
but
He laid the-
Baha'i Temple Unity.
That's right.
Yes.
Very good. And his visit to Greenacre. So the Guardian puts a lot of importance on his time at Greenacre in terms of significance, importance. Okay, this is a little trickier. This is fill in the blank, and I've seen the answers, and I would have never figured this one out. But I'm not a good test taker, so that's okay. 3, okay. Fill in the blanks. Abdu'l-Bahá said, Greenacre, is the most ideal spot for the
Dissemination?
That's my guess too.
very good dissemination of lofty ideals. Yes. All right. You must lay such as
Foundation?
Foundation.
so. Yes. Yeah. So that the influence of the Confederation of Religions and Sects may to all parts of the world, so that
Spread.
Permeate?
Spread.
permeate. Yes, permeate. Whoever said that, yes. Congratulations. So that right to all parts of the world, from Greenacre. And Greenacre, for all the future ages and cycles, may become the blank of the
This-
oneness.
Center.
Center?
Standard bearer, I think.
Standard bearer.
Standard bearer, correct. Yes, may become the standard bearer of the oneness of the world of humanity. I will blank for the fulfillment of this truth.
Pray.
A.
Pray. That's
Pray.
right. All right. You guys are sharp.
True.
All right. Here we go. All right. Number 4. Abdu'l-Bahá was fond of asking people, A, would you like to hear about the cause of God? B, have you signed up for book 1 yet? C, are you all well and happy? And D, have you been investigating reality?
C.
Would be C.
All well and happy.
Yes,
C.
yes, he did. Very good. And then number 5, at Greenacre, Abdu'l-Bahá said, we have sown a seed. How can we take up the work? Oh, how can we take up the work he began and nurture this seed? So any thoughts about that?
We can love each other and we can talk to people in conversations about the faith and about the principles.
Yeah, that's really good. Sown a seed. What other seeds did he sow? What did he talk about there during those times?
The oneness of
reality.
mankind.
Yeah, oneness. Among a lot of other things. Yes, oneness.
And he talked a good bit about investigating reality.
And racial unity.
Yeah.
To avoid superstition.
Yeah. Very good. These are all wonderful. So since that time, what do you think we have now? Do we have a sprout? Because he's sown a seed. So are we at where we have a sprout, or do we have a little twig, or is there some leaves on this thing? Where are we, do you think? I don't know. I think a sprout, probably. That's where
Yeah,
we're
I'll
at
go
now.
with sprout.
It's a sprout. Can't even identify the plant yet, probably. We know it's going to be wonderful, but it's just a sprout. All right. So we've put together a little section of Luminous Journey to close out the part of the last stay here, and it's the sections that share Abdu'l-Bahá's visit with Dublin, and then Greenacre, and ending in Malden. And I think in this last week, you talked about all of these locations in one form or another. So let me stop sharing here. And I know Anne was so happy every time that the morning was over, and she spoke highly of each and every one of you. So she wished she could be here today, and suddenly she found herself having to teach. Out of a surprise email that says, "Hi, you have classes tomorrow in person." So anyway, I see some friends that I haven't seen in a while. Mr. Saeed, hello. All right, so without further ado, I will attempt to properly screen share this part of Luminous Journey. So please enjoy.
Nigel, did you have a question?
Oh, are there questions?
Yeah, I did actually, and I'm just wondering if anybody knows, if it's possible to ask just very quickly. There were a number of references to quotes by Ella Robarts, and I'm just wondering if she's any relation to our John, if anybody knows.
John Robarts, A Hand of the Cause.
I probably shouldn't refer to him that way. I'm sorry, I always have done. Yes, John Robarts, Hand of the Cause.
Just for folks that maybe don't know who he is. Yes. It's a good question. That's a good research question. That's probably you can probably find that one out and share it maybe. Thank you. All right, so here we are. Let's go ahead and play this, and I guess we can chat later, and maybe we'll have another song at the end. Uh-oh, quick. Here we go. Hearing audio?
Perfect.
On July 25th, Abdu'l-Bahá arrived at Agnes Parsons' Dublin, New Hampshire estate. During 3 weeks there, he gave private and small group talks and wrote letters to send all over the world. There he was able to rest, walk in the woods, shop, and cook for his friends. Mr. Parsons had a carriage and took Abdu'l-Bahá for rides around beautiful Dublin Lake and through the countryside. Though he stayed with his entourage at the Parsons House Dayspring, he moved to the Dublin Inn for part of his time to get more rest. Visitors arrived from Portland, Oregon, Washington, D.C., Boston, Cambridge, New York, and New Jersey. Abdu'l-Bahá went to the Harrisville train station to greet them. W.W. Harmon, a leader of the Theosophists in Boston, visited.
As I look back upon that time, I see him in that most majestic and sublime attitude with which those who are nearest to him are so often impressed. His almost supernatural power. One has to feel it and see it in order to understand the fullness and completeness of his majesty.
Abdu'l-Bahá toured a summer camp for boys in the nearby village of Chesham with Dr. Charles Hanford Henderson, the owner and director, who told Abdu'l-Bahá that his was the first summer camp in the United States. Abdu'l-Bahá spoke to the boys, and they performed gymnastics for him. Aware of class and race distinctions in Dublin, Abdu'l-Bahá arranged for African American servants to meet at the Parsons Boathouse. 28 attended, and Abdu'l-Bahá addressed them on unity and amity between blacks and whites. Mahmoud noted,
He spoke of the approaching wedding of Miss Matthew, a white woman, and Mr. Gregory, a black man, which is to take place shortly. This meeting was full of joy.
Abdu'l-Bahá spoke at the Parsons home every afternoon to audiences as large as 75. Among those who met Abdu'l-Bahá in Dublin included artists Joseph Lyndon Smith, Abbott Thayer, and George DeForest Brush, who hosted Abdu'l-Bahá for lunch and later became a Bahá'í. Others who met him included Franklin McVeigh, United States Secretary of the Treasury under President Taft, and Professor Raphael Pumpelly, an American geologist, explorer, and Harvard professor, whose home Abdu'l-Bahá visited. Pumpelly's daughter, photographer Elise Pumpelly Cabot, took the Dublin pictures of Abdu'l-Bahá. Abdu'l-Bahá's only public talk in Dublin was at the Unitarian Church, filled to its capacity of 300. Built in 1852, the church also served as the town meeting house. Abdu'l-Bahá paced back and forth on the platform as he spoke. Reverend Howard Colby Ives described his gestures.
Never a dogmatic downward stroke of the hand, never an upraised warning finger, never the assumption of teacher to the taught, but always the encouraging upward swing of hands as though he would actually lift us up with them. And his voice, like a resonant bell of finest timbre, never loud, but of such penetrating quality that the walls of the room seemed to vibrate with its music.
Agnes Parsons said,
The people were motionless. So great was the power of his word. I had never seen him look as he did, nor had I ever been so impressed.
Abdu'l-Bahá's 50-minute address focused on true education, spiritual power, and Baha'u'llah's teachings. He chanted a prayer. Mahmoud noted,
A wonderful spirit of humility seemed to permeate the building, and the voice of acceptance seemed to issue from all sides.
Before leaving Dublin, he attended a play, then called on various people to say goodbye. Agnes hosted a musical performance where he spoke about the spiritual power of music, and during the afternoon talk, there was standing room only. On his last evening in Dublin, at the Pumpelly home, a large group gathered for dinner. They exchanged funny stories. Abdu'l-Bahá told several, saying that such stories made the difficulties easier when his family was in prison. On August 17th, Abdu'l-Bahá arrived in Elliott, Maine, at Greenacre, a conference center founded by Sarah Farmer to bring together people of diverse backgrounds and points of view. Sarah was the daughter of electrical genius Moses Garish Farmer and humanitarian Hannah Shapley Farmer, who established a residence for poor women and their children. Their home had been a way station on the Underground Railroad, and they knew Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and other reformers. In 1893, at the World's Parliament of Religions, Sarah invited Swami Vivekananda and Dharmampala to speak at Greenacre, where social reformers, educators, artists, scientists, religious seekers, and philosophers met to share ideas. The following year, Sarah dedicated Greenacre to the ideals of peace and unity and had the first known peace flag raised. Greenacre emerged as a center, if not the very heart, of liberal religion in the United States. In 1900, Sarah met Abdu'l-Bahá in Acre and embraced his teachings. When Abdu'l-Bahá arrived, she had not visited Greenacre in 3 years, having been confined to a sanatorium in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. As Abdu'l-Bahá approached Greenacre by car, multicolored Japanese lanterns and 500 eager souls lined the road. He stayed in the Greenacre Inn, in a room on the 3rd floor. After a short rest, he gave a brief talk on the investigation of reality. He then went to see Sarah Farmer in Portsmouth. According to Mahmoud,
when she saw Abdu'l-Bahá, she fell into such a state of rapture that every heart was moved.
During his week there, Abdu'l-Bahá brought Sarah Farmer to Greenacre and took her to see historic sites. A rare photograph was taken of Abdu'l-Bahá kissing Sarah Farmer's cheek in the motor car. Margaret Klebs recalled,
"The beloved one held her in his arms, driving slowly around the Greenacre fields. Blessed are we who could witness it."
Every evening, Abdu'l-Bahá spoke to several hundred on the oneness of humanity, the need for world peace, and the role of love. Mahmoud reported that Abdu'l-Bahā's eloquence produced
a wonderful impression on the whole audience. Fortune tellers, spiritualists, and ascetics came here to spread their superstitious views. The discourse of Abdu'l-Bahá completely swept away the cobwebs of superstitions. Some impostors came to see him, bowing and repenting.
Fred Mortensen of Minneapolis, formerly a petty criminal and a fugitive from justice, had been introduced to the Baha'i faith by his attorney, Albert Hall. When he learned that Abdu'l-Bahá was at Greenacre, Fred decided that he needed to meet him. As he had no money, he jumped a freight train, riding on top of and underneath trains until he arrived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He reached Greenacre head to foot, covered with soot.
Arriving there, I found quite a number of people on the same mission, to see Abdu'l-Bahá. I was looking around when someone exclaimed, "Here he comes now!" After greeting others and when about to go to his room, Abdu'l-Bahá suddenly turned to me and said, "Sit down." I meekly obeyed. It seemed but a minute until Ahmad came down and said, "Abdu'l-Bahá wishes to see Mr. Mortensen." I nearly wilted. I hadn't expected to be called until the very last thing.
Fred entered the master's room. The two men exchanged greetings through an interpreter.
He welcomed me with a smile and a warm hand clasp. His first words were, "Welcome, welcome. You are very welcome. Then, are you happy?" And then he asked, "Did you have a pleasant journey?" Of all the questions I wished to avoid, this was the one. I lifted my eyes to his, and his were as two sparkling jewels, which seemed to look into my very depths, and a wondrous light seemed to pour out. It was the light of love, and I felt relieved and very much happier. I explained to him how I rode on the trains, after which he kissed both my cheeks, gave me fruit, and kissed the dirty hat I wore.
Abdu'l-Bahá said, "You are my guest." At a special dinner, he seated Fred at his right, ignoring the convention of social class. Abdu'l-Bahá delighted others at Greenacre. Ahmad Sorab noted,
"His majestic figure became familiar, greeting everyone, whether friend or stranger, young or old, in English. 'How are you? Are you well? Are you happy? Are you very happy?' When the answer was given, he said in good English, 'Very well? Very happy? All right.' And then the party addressed laughed because he laughed."
On August 19th, Abdu'l-Bahá spoke to around 300 people in a grove called the Pines, where Baha'is and others had delivered talks. He hosted 500 at a unity feast, where, speaking from the Staples House porch, his melodious voice prompted people passing by to stop and listen. He went with the crowd up to the hill of Montsalvat. There, Mahmoud noted,
He addressed this gathering on the necessity of founding the school for the investigation of religions which Miss Farmer wished to establish on that mountain. A picture was taken. It was an auspicious day.
On August 23rd, Abdu'l-Bahá said,
We have finished our work here. We have sown a seed.
The suitcases were packed and the carriage readied. As they lined both sides of the road to say farewell, people lamented and wept. When Abdu'l-Bahá prepared to step into the car, he spotted Fred Mortensen.
To my astonishment, he ordered me to get into the automobile.
Mortensen accompanied Abdu'l-Bahá for the next week in Malden, Massachusetts. On the way, Abdu'l-Bahá stopped for one last visit with Sarah Farmer, who fell at his feet weeping. In Malden, Abdu'l-Bahá stayed at a house owned by Mariah Wilson, where he gave talks, wrote numerous letters, and received many visitors. A close friend of Sarah Farmer's, Mariah had accompanied her on her trip to Egypt and Acre and had returned for a second pilgrimage. Mariah had asked Abdu'l-Bahá to visit her if he came to America, as she wished to return his hospitality. She was overjoyed that he remembered and that she could host the 9 men in his entourage in her small home. From Malden, Abdu'l-Bahá took day trips to Boston to give talks. One day he went for an automobile ride along the Atlantic coast and enjoyed its beauty. On his last full day in Malden, so many wanted to see him that his hostess asked her friend, Madame Murray, a well-known pianist, to hold a meeting in her large home nearby. The program began with music. Abdu'l-Bahá spoke about the religions of the world to the nearly 100 present. One of the visitors at the Wilson home was Harry Randall, a skeptical Boston businessman who earlier had been surprised by his own response to meeting Abdu'l-Bahá.
He spoke in Persian, and my mind heard in English. Great is the power of the intellect, but it is dead without love. It needs the vivifying fragrance of love to make it a servant of God. He then blessed me and said, "Be happy."
Now Randall had come to Malden at the urging of his wife, Ruth, who was dying of tuberculosis. He entered the house hoping he would be able to ask Abdu'l-Bahá to visit her, but it was crowded with people, and he was told Abdu'l-Bahá had at least 100 requests for appointments that afternoon. Randall realized it was hopeless to wait and felt annoyed because he knew Abdu'l-Bahá didn't even know he was there. Then suddenly the kitchen door opened and a voice called, "Abdu'l-Bahá will see Mr. Randall." Overcome, he went to the porch where Abdu'l-Bahá sat. When he looked up, Randall asked, "I wanted to know if you..." But that was as far as he got. Abdu'l-Bahá said, "Yes, I will come and see your wife this afternoon." Abdu'l-Bahā's visit to the Randall house was a turning point for Ruth, who recovered. The Randalls later lived in Haifa in service to the faith and to Abdu'l-Bahá.
Well, thank you. It's gives us a little bit of a feeling of what it might have been like, and we heard some stories too, which we may not have heard before. So, yes, Susie.
Ella Robarts was John's sister, older sister.
Excellent. So yes, there was a relationship. Yes. Excellent.
So Tim, the Malden trip, we consider that as part of the Green Acre, the whole segment, right?
Well, I suppose in that it's a continuation, you know, it was the next place he left for, and he took along with him Fred Mortensen, you know, so there was a bit of a continuation. But I think we wanted to include this in that it, you know, it had a lot of Fred Mortensen stories, and you kept hearing about Malden, so I think we wanted to add that.
And whose voice is that? It's such a lovely voice you found, the lady that narrates.
Her name, she lives here in North Texas, and her name is Dorothy Gilstrap. Her grandmother was Dorothy Baker, and Dorothy Gilstrap wrote the book From Copper to Gold, I think it is, which is a story about her grandmother, the hand of the cause, Dorothy Baker, and her life story. And Dorothy Baker, you know, I think died in a plane crash while pioneering and traveling, serving the faith. So
yeah, in Mediterranean. She was taken off from Rome or Naples, something like this, and the plane went down.
Yes, Dorothy Gilstrap is a lovely woman, and she, you know, her time was voluntary to do all the voiceover, and she would come. It took weeks of her visiting and doing a section at a time because there was such a lot of narration. So yeah, we were really blessed to have such a lovely friend. And she worked in media early on in her career in the Dallas area. So she had some capabilities. So she did a wonderful job. Well, so I guess this is the wrap-up time, and Jessica, I guess I'll let you do the whatever in terms of saying goodbye. Any other thoughts or questions about the entire time that you've been a part of this wonderful reminiscence of Abdu'l-Bahá's stay at Green Acre? Anything?
I have to tell you that this is Laura. I live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I used to live in Boston. So I have been to Green Acre many, 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 many times. But I haven't been for at least about 15 years. And this was like a real visit. I look forward to this every morning. So Jessica, first of all, I love your singing voice. It's just a beautiful singing voice. Jessica, have that quote that Abdu'l-Bahá talked about, the reflection of Acre in the Holy Land and Green Acre. I'm just going to put that out there, is that if you're ever thinking about changing the logo of Green Acre, that somehow there's that reflection, you know, between the two, between Acre and Green Acre. The imagery is just fantastic, and I think as Americans we should be more aware that Abdu'l-Bahá said that, and that Green Acre truly is a holy, holy spot, not just a nice, beautiful house. It's a holy spot, just as Acre is the holy spot.
Yeah, thank you for that, Laura. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was the first time that I had seen that quote. I'd heard before that he had said that Green Acre was the Acre of the West, but not this reflection one. And it's funny because we actually are looking for a new logo. So I will put that idea forward.
Tim, I have one more question since the movie you made, and this is a question that has always been in my mind. I don't know how to paraphrase it, but I hope everybody forgives me if I ask that question. Abdu'l-Bahá seems to be staying in a very, very well-off hotels in North America. The one that in Chicago is a top-notch, still one of the best hotels, classic hotels, the places. Were those places were booked by the Baha'is ahead of time, as he was, like, I'm still confused how he plan this whole 6 months in North America?
Well, I may not be the right person. I'm not exactly a historian. I learn as I go, but I do know that there were many wealthy American Baha'is, I think primarily women initially, who contributed to the planning and the comfort and certainly to the funding of Abdu'l-Bahá's trip to a greater or lesser degree. And I think that these ladies were pretty well connected, and so they probably knew where to put him up. However, Salt Lake City, I couldn't tell you how he got booked in, at the Kenyon Hotel or at the in Colorado Springs at the Hotel Colorado. I wouldn't know that, but the beauty of this is that a lot of these hotels still exist, and we can go and visit and imagine Abdu'l-Bahá being in the lobby or the entourage moving through. In Colorado, at the Hotel Colorado, the hotel is exactly like it was back in the day. It's really a charming place to go in this little town of Glenwood Springs. And so I just urge everyone to, if you get a chance, and if you know that Abdu'l-Bahá was in your city or town, or the train passed by, then try to visit, where he might have been. Just a little mini pilgrimage if you can. So it was such a blessing to be able to go to these places, and especially Greenacre, of course, and Dublin and Malden. We actually were, when shooting, I was invited to spend the night at the house, the Wilson House in Malden. And that's really, it's a lovely little house that's available. There's a caretaker there, and you can go visit. I don't know what you have to set up ahead of time to do that, but it's, imagine Abdu'l-Bahá and his 9-member entourage, including Fred Mortensen, staying in this tiny little house. They don't know exactly which room he was in. But they do know that the entourage slept in the attic, and I did get to go up into the attic, and it was kind of interesting to imagine them all up in there. So yeah, so I think Nigel, you had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to really appreciate what you and Anne have done, and Anne's presentation for the last week, and even back to last Saturday, a week ago. So I've been a Baha'i for a few years. I thought I knew quite a lot about Abdu'l-Bahá's trips through America. It's been a very long time since I've read 239 Days, but I just really learned so much more, and in so much more depth than I'd ever known before. And it's very, very much appreciated to both yourself, Tim, and to Anne. And being very knowledgeable of Dodie Gilstrap, and having served on assemblies with her for a long time, I got to say that the film was so beautifully done that it never registered in my mind that was who that was speaking. And thanks to Saeed to have prized that out of you. I really appreciated it, and was just taken away to another plane. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigel. That was very nice. I'll pass that on to Anne as well. Yeah, I don't think anyone that I've ever met loves Greenacre more than Anne. Some people resonate, with things, and I don't know how it happened, but she was already on fire with Greenacre when I met her back in the 90s. And so I was sort of pulled into it, But yeah, thank you very much. There were so many stories. There's just so much. The visit to America was so important. To imagine that we had someone of that, I believe it was the Guardian, talking about that spiritual energy that Abdu'l-Bahá had was the same energy that Jesus Christ had. And so to have a Christ-like figure visit North America and to spread his teachings. And you know, one of the reasons I wanted to do the film Luminous Journey was because it is part of American history that should be and will be probably told in the future as a part of the curriculum for children to learn in school and for everyone to be aware of. I mean, it's every bit as important as anything that's happened in this country before and since. So we're really lucky to have had that visit. And we're very lucky that the Baha'is have been able to purchase properties around the country, you know, that are significant and you know, to Abdu'l-Bahá's visit.
My hope is that I learned through this program that, so the home of Kate Ives, who it turns out, Kate Ives was not only the first consecrated female American believer, she was the first consecrated female believer outside of the Middle East. And her home is right here in Elliott. And I had no idea. I don't think any of the staff here at Green Acre knew that. My mother lives across the street from it. I had no idea. So I hope that one day we'll be able to purchase that property as well, because that's very historic. Incredible.
What do you mean by consecrated?
My guess is that stayed a Baha'i is my guess.
Oh,
Like maybe,
not a covenant breaker.
correct. Yeah.
But would you say what you just said again, because it went past me and I really want to hear it?
Sure.
Who's Kate Ives?
She's the first, I'll just say the first believer, female believer outside of the Middle East. She's the first woman outside of the Middle East to recognize Baha'u'llah, and her home is right here in Elliott. And she's buried here in Elliott. And I had no idea.
Do you know what date that?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Do you know what date that was when she became a believer?
Well, I looked it up. I believe it was 1894 in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tim might know.
Well, I don't. It's news to me as well. But so considered like Thornton Chase, the first American woman Baha'i, you know, first, yeah. In Robert Turner, it's very exciting to, you saw the letter, I believe, from National, Robert Turner being considered the first African-American Baha'i in our country. And the fact that they're going to build a beautiful monument and we have an opportunity all to contribute to that. I had the good fortune of being able to visit his graveside. It's in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's on the southern side of the bay. I don't know if it's San Mateo or Santa Maria or one of those communities. And it's just it was humbling to go and to stand there and to say some prayers, but also he had such a humble little marker. And here he is, with such an amazing station. And he became a Baha'i by traveling with Phoebe Hearst. He was Phoebe Hearst's butler, and he met Abdu'l-Bahá on pilgrimage. And Abdu'l-Bahá loved Robert Turner very, very much. And so it's going to be wonderful to see what they do for his gravesite. I know if anyone is from California, they may have visited Thornton Chase's grave in the Los Angeles area, the Inglewood Cemetery. I used to go there all the time. I think that was the very first time I was ever somewhere where Abdu'l-Bahá had stood. And I would just spend hours kind of tripping out on the idea that Abdu'l-Bahá had been right here. So later then to do Luminous Journey was very, very much of a blessing for me to go to all these other places.
Jessica, unfortunately, I missed a few sessions because I had to work. When will the recordings be available?
Well, we've got quite a backlog of videos that need to be edited and put up on our website. And that's in addition to our operation manager, Frank's full-time job. So as soon as he's able to edit them, they will be put up on the website. My guess is probably 2 weeks. Yeah. Susie, did you have a question? Sure, you bet.
I'm curious about Abdu'l-Bahá's entourage. I forget how many you said were there, but did each of them have a specific purpose, or were they just blessed with the opportunity?
Well, that's really a good question. We know Mahmud was there, and he served as a historian. Whether he had done that voluntarily or if he was instructed, I don't know. There may be a way to find that out. Ahmad Sohrab also made notes of someone had to carry the suitcases. I'm not sure. We thought about that, because what it's like when you travel, and if you're traveling with a large group of people, it's like there had to be all this luggage and all these things that went along with it, and all this planning and food and these long train trips. You imagine on these trains, and they did, they were probably weren't the most comfortable things in the world at the time. So it's really a good question. In Paris, at his apartment that he stayed in 1911, which is considered a shrine, the third holiest spot in Europe. Does anyone know where the other two might be? Think about it, in Europe.
Maybe Azizul Azizi, the tailor? No?
Well, I don't know that.
The grave of Turkey Fendi.
Yeah.
No, it's the two houses of Baha'u'llah in Turkey. The one in Constantinople and the one in Adrianople, I think, are considered shrines of Baha'u'llah, or shrines of the faith. And then the third is Abdu'l-Bahá's apartment in Paris, interestingly. And so in visiting, they have a lovely little cabinet in one of the rooms, and as a part of the visit, they open the cabinet, and here are artifacts from Abdu'l-Bahá, and his Taj, and his boots, some boots, and there's a lovely little suitcase, and it's a little suitcase that he carried on his journey to the West and in America. So I always wondered what that might have looked like, and there it is. It's such a beautiful gift from the World Center to that shrine. So.
Can you show us visually how big it was? Because I heard it was really small.
Yeah, it fit in a small cabinet. So I'm going to say whatever, I'm going to say it's probably 3 feet by 1.5 feet, 2 feet in terms of width. Yeah, wasn't very large at all. Now there may have been others to go to, along with that, but who knows? So. Well, I think all of us are praying for Green Acre in New England today with the tropical storm passing overhead, and I'm sure everything will be fine. So, just good.
Well, perhaps I can close us out with try number 2 on this Abdu'l-Bahá song. Now that Anne's wishes have been granted and I've sang that other song, maybe the universe will allow me to sing this song now.
Excellent.
And we're all waiting.
Oh, thanks. So sweet.
Jessica, before you close out, could you remind us when the daily, I know there used to be devotionals on Zoom from Green Acre. What's at the moment? What are they?
Yeah, it's still the same. It's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay. And you can find that link on Green Acre's website. We would love to have you join us, Anne, or anybody else.
Thank you.
Yes.
That'll be at 2 o'clock Ireland time. Same as in England here.
All right. Let's try this one more time. My name is Abdu'l-Bahá. My qualification is Abdu'l-Bahá. My reality is Abdu'l-Bahá. My praise is Abdu'l-Bahá. This is my longing, my greatest yearning, my life, my everlasting glory. This is my longing, my greatest yearning, my eternal life, my everlasting glory. My name is Abdu'l-Bahá, my qualification is Abdu'l-Bahá, my reality is Abdu'l-Bahá, my praise is Abdu'l-Bahá. My name is Abdu'l-Bahá, my qualification is Abdu'l-Bahá, my reality is Abdu'l-Bahá, my praise is Abdu'l-Bahá. This is my longing, my greatest yearning, my eternal life, my everlasting glory. This is my longing, my greatest yearning, my eternal life, my everlasting glory. This is my longing, my greatest yearning, my eternal life, my everlasting glory. Thank you so much, friends. This has been a joy, a privilege, an honor to learn alongside all of you, to be here, to feel all of your love for Abdu'l-Bahá. It's kind of wild how you can feel things through Zoom screens thousands of miles apart, but it's been a joy. And we hope to see you all again. Please join us for another program. Come visit us in person when it's safe to do so. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you to all of you. And we'll see you again sometime soon.
Jessica?
Yes.
I think it occurred to me as you were singing that song that there might have been a little divine intervention in your forgetting, because there was no more perfect song to begin this final day with than the one about being happy. And this was a beautiful conclusion to this program.
Thank you.
Thanks so
God
much to
gets what
Jessica
God
for
wants,
pulling it all together. It was so wonderfully organized and flowed so smoothly. Thank you, Jessica.
Oh, it's really Anne. Anne did all of the work pretty much. Anne and Tim. So thank you all. We'll see you again sometime
Thank
soon.
you.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
So glad you could join us.